Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanam Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikayistadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Narayanam Gurum Vande Saranyam Bhakta Bandhavam Gauramanu Purnam Radha Dasyam Pradayakam Rupanugacharya Varyam Rupamanjari Preshtakam Patita Pavana Bandhavam Vacharya Narayanam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvise Namaha Shama Sundara Shikanda Shekara Ismira Hasara Murali Manohara Radhikara Sikamam Kripanide Swapriya Charana Kinkarim Kuru Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vrindai Tulasi Devyai Priyai Keshavascha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavatyai Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. So first of all, I begin offering my most humble obeisances to the dust of the lotus feet of Paramaradatama Shri Guru Pada Padma Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Paribrajacharya Astotra Sata Sri Madhu Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj Shila Gurudeva, and to my most worshipable Shiksha and Sannyasa Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Paribrajacharya Astotra Sata Sri Madhu Shila Bhakti Vijnana Bharati Goswami Maharaj, and to all Shri Rupa and Gauriya Guru Varga, to all Tridandi Sannyasis, Brahmacharis, Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, to all the assembled devotees here today, and most respectful obeisances. So by the causeless mercy of Srila Gurudeva and all Mahabhagavatas Acharyas, we are able to assemble here one more time. So continue reading from Sri Ramananda Samvada. Prabhu kohe age kaho sunite pai sukhe apurvam rita nadivahe tomara mukhe. Upon hearing the previous verse, Mahaprabhu's voice choked up and he said, "Speak more, right? Hearing this gives me tremendous joy. An unprecedented, unparalleled, and astonishing river of nectar is flowing from your mouth." So just to remind, last time we read about a little bit about Radharani's glories, and that song Radhika Charana Padma by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was quoted in the purport by Srila Gurudev. So, and now Mahaprabhu is very happy to hear from Rai Ramananda all these glorifications of Srimati Radhika. Churi kori radhake nila gopi ganir dhare anya peksha haile primera gadatana spure. Right, by the verse Anaya Radhito Nunam, you have implied that Shri Krishna secretly took Shri Radha to a solitary place out of fear of the other gopis. Consequently, one might think that she is just like the other gopis, since it may be understood that he did not steal Shri Radha away directly before them, as he loves them as well. If he had stolen her away directly in front of the others, they would have become angry, seeing that Shri Krishna is dependent on other gopis. The intensity of Srimati Radhika's prema is not established as superior to theirs. So Krishna has to also deal with the minds and sentiments of the other gopis as well. And he has to be very careful not to provoke any type of jealousness or, anger among themselves. And this is also the reason why he left Radha again in the middle of the forest, not taking her, because the gopis, they were approaching them. They were coming too close. And then, fearing that the other gopis would see him with her, he left her again alone. So when the gopis found her there alone and crying and again, like suffering, then they became sympathetic with Radha's pain. And then again, they had no reason to join and again, come together without any type of conflict among themselves. So this is Krishna's strategy, like that. Radha lagi gopire jodi sakshad kore tyag tobe jani radhaya krishnera gandha anurag. If Shri Krishna had rejected all the other gopis by taking Shri Radha away directly before them, then one could understand that Shri Krishna's passion for Shri Radha was deeper. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains how Shri Krishna's profound, exclusive love for Srimati Radhika could not manifest in front of the other gopis. Fearing them, Shri Krishna secretly stole Radha away from the other gopis during the Rasa Lila. Only in this way was the complete and ultimate mellow actually reached, and the Rasa Lila was accomplished. Removing Radha from that situation pacified her mind, and then it was possible to quell the other gopis' pride in their own good fortune. So Bhagya Mother. So when the gopis became proud by being with Krishna and thinking that themselves they are alone, each gopi are alone with Krishna, is alone with Krishna, that then to break that pride, Krishna also left the Rasa. So many things Krishna is doing means one action of Krishna can fulfill so many types of necessities, of his reality. In addition, it enabled the other gopis' hearts to come together in a sweet way, mitigating all differences between them. Sriman Mahaprabhu concealed the depth of Radha's prema, and he raised the doubt concerning Shri Krishna's love for her. Without this question, it would otherwise have been impossible to establish the full glories of Radha's prema. The conceptual streams originating from our worshipful Goswamis regarding their disappearance from Rasa Lila are herewith presented. So number one, what the Goswamis are, what they have to say about this, this pastime. First, when both Aradhika, the worshipper or Shri Radha, and Aradhya, the worshipped or Shri Krishna, disappeared from the arena of Rasa Lila, the gopis of Shri Radha's group could not at first understand that their mistress and Shri Krishna had disappeared together. So they, what to say? They could not understand. So in their idea, Krishna left by himself, alone. Therefore, at the same time, the other gopis began to search for Shri Krishna. The gopis of Shri Radha's group also began looking for their mistress. They were not sure whether she had departed with Shyamasundar or had left separately. So at that first moment, everyone was confused. No one actually knew what was happening. So the second one, once they had begun their search, the Swapaksha gopis, the gopis in Shri Radha's group, then observed a set of footprints which they immediately understood as Shri Radha's, because they had received the good fortune of serving her lotus feet. This put all of their doubts to rest, and thus Shri Radha was perfectly established as the most beloved of all of Shri Krishna's dear gopis. It was Mahaprabhu's intention here that Sri Rai Ramananda should further explain the super excellence of the glories of Sri Radha's prema. Rai kahe tabe shuna premera mahima, tri jagate Radha premera nahi ko upama. Sri Ramananda Rai said, now listen to the glories of Radha's prema. There is nothing superior to her prema within the three worlds. Gopi ganera rasa nritya mandali charya, Radha chahi vanne fire villapa korea. Shri Krishna left the other gopis in the dancing arena. Lamenting over Shri Radha's disappearance, he began wandering through in the forest in search of her. With great expertise, Sri Rai Ramananda refuted Sriman Mahaprabhu's objection, saying, O Lord, in Saradiya Ras, Shri Krishna secretly took Shri Radha away from the other gopis in order to associate with her alone. That is true. Furthermore, it is an established and likewise proven fact that Shri Krishna also remains dependent on the other gopis. But we do not always find this to be the case. The Vaishnava poet Sri Jayadev has conclusively proved this in his description of Vasanti Rasa Lila, which took place in the springtime at Govardhan. So here we have to explain two things to make more easy to understand. Two types of Rasa Lila are being described. One is called Sharadiya Rasa. This Sharadiya Rasa happens in Vrindavan, the beginning of Kartik. And that is the Rasa Lila which all gopis take part, Sadhana Siddhas and Nitya Siddhas. But then we have Vasanti Rasa, which happens springtime at Govardhan. And in that Rasa Lila, only the Nitya Siddha gopis are present, not Sadhana Siddhas. Okay? So therefore, there will be this difference. So Rasa Lila started with countless millions of gopis being present. Suddenly, Shri Krishna noticed that Raseshwari Shri Radha, the presiding goddess of Rasa Lila, was no longer present. That very instant, he abandoned the Rasa Lila arena and, lamenting with a saddened heart, he ran from forest to forest, searching for her everywhere. Millions of gopis were still waiting at the dance arena, but Shri Krishna did not once look at them again, not even to tell them where he was going. He ran off in front of everyone, not waiting for any other gopi. From this account, we can identify Shri Krishna's unwavering and heightened attraction for Sri Radha. Even if we derive our understanding from Sriman Mahaprabhu's description, our worshipful Goswamis have explained that when Shri Krishna sometimes shows attachment to other gopis, the desire to taste varieties of ras must be the cause. If Shri Krishna had stolen Sri Radha away directly in front of the other gopis, their pride would not have been destroyed. Rather, jealousy would have arisen in them instead. And then the great Rasa festival would have been over. So by referring to this verse, Srimad Mahaprabhu draws further attention to the description of Vasanti Rasa in Sri Gita Govinda, composed by the great poet Sri Jayadeva Goswami. The verse says, Kam sarirapi samsara vasanna bandha Shri Kalam Radham madhaya ritaye tatyaja braja sundari. His heart, bound by the chain of Radha's love, Kamsari Shri Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, firmly clasped her to his chest and taking her away from the sight of the Rasa Lila, which is the complete essence of all his desires. He left aside all the other beautiful Braja maidens. Second verse. Itas tatas tam anushritya radhikam anangavana vranakina manasaha kritanu tapasa kalindanandini tatanta kunje vishada madhava. Struck by Cupid's arrows, Madhava ran here and there along the banks of the Yamuna, searching for Shri Radha. Becoming despondent at not finding her, he wept in a kunja. During the Vasanti Rasa, as soon as Shri Radha left the Rasa Lila arena, the flow of nectar immediately stopped, despite millions of gopis being there. When Shri Krishna saw that Raseshwari Shri Radha was not there, he also left straight away to go looking for her. He did not even tell the other gopis, wait for me a moment, I am coming right back. In fact, the presence of Shri Radha, he does not maintain an attachment for any other gopi. The arrows of Kamadev mentioned here are the arrows of Radha's prema specifically. These arrows so much wound Shri Krishna that he cannot even remain on his feet. Just as a diseased person has a need of a healthy person's assistance, similarly, the afflicted Shri Krishna can only again become healthy by the medicine of Shri Radha's darshan. Do any of the other gopis possess this kind of power? It is only Shri Radha who completely fulfills every object of Shri Krishna's desires. So I hope you are able to follow, what is this, these two types of Rasa Lila are being described, and as well as now Gurudev is trying to reconcile Mahaprabhu's statement and the Goswami's statement. As Mahaprabhu is saying that Krishna would never take Radha in front of the other ones, but by some evidence, Jayadeva Goswami is showing that Krishna took Radha in front of everyone away. So let us see how it will end up now. Afflicted by the fire of Cupid, Shri Krishna searched for Shri Radha, but in vain. He became so deeply affected by separation that upon remembering her prema, he fell into an unfathomable ocean of self-reproach. He understood that he had indeed behaved with Shri Radha as he had with the other gopis, even though she deserved greater honor. Repeatedly falling down and getting up, all the while reproaching himself, he came to a kunja on the bank of the river Yamuna, where he thought, Praneshwari Shri Radha, the mistress of my life, must have come to this kunja. But when he did not find her there, he fell into an ocean of despair and began lamenting. So this is when he goes to sit at the Imilitala. And when says that he is reproaching himself up and down, is in India we have a tradition that you should hold your ears and then just squatch up and down, trying to show that you are like repenting from your mistake. Ei dui shlokera artha vicharile jani vicharite uttejena amrite rakhani. Srimad Mahaprabhu pondered the meaning of these two verses and understood that they were a reservoir of nectar. Repeatedly chewing them, he began to taste ambrosia, cup after cup. Shatakoti gopi sangira savilas taramade ekamurti rahe radha pash. Sri Ramananda continued. Shri Krishna performed the Rasa Leela with millions of gopis, and in their midst, he stayed by Shri Radha's side with one of his forms. Sadharana prema deki sarvatra samata radhara kutila premi hoilo vamata. Seeing that Shri Krishna's love for her was the same as his love for the gopis, Shri Radha exhibited the contrary or leftist mood, Bhamya Bhav, because it is the nature of prem to be crooked. Although both Madhurya and Aishwarya are not only present but also complete in Braj, the opulence stays in a hidden form under the auspices of sweetness. Whenever the necessity to present itself arises, majesty manifests to serve Shri Krishna. Opulence cannot abandon him. When millions of gopis gathered for the Rasa festival, Aishwarya Murti, the personification of opulence, Jogmaya, manifested millions of forms of Shri Krishna. However, the power of his own Aishwarya Shakti prevented he himself from realizing this fact. So this is very interesting. This is the first time actually I am reading this. Is that Jogmaya, she manifested all the opulence for Krishna's pastime, but at the same time, she covered Krishna from recognizing that opulence. This is very interesting. Every gopi thought that Shri Krishna was there with her exclusively. If Shri Krishna, the very form of fully condensed ecstasy, were right there next to oneself, then why would one look to see what another gopi was doing? Suddenly, Shri Radha glanced at another gopi and realized that Shri Krishna was with her. And she also noticed him with all the other gopis. She could perceive that Shri Krishna would leave one gopi and move to the next, then leave that gopi and go on to the next and dance with each of them. Suddenly, she beheld Shri Krishna. She beheld Shri Krishna there with her also. Seeing this, she became very angry because she understood that all along he had been sporting with all other gopis. He has come to me last. He is a magician and debauchee. He loves all the other gopis just as much as he loves me. Srimati Radhika's crooked prema took on a leftist mood, and becoming angry, she indignantly left the rasa arena. Aheri hagati premna swabhava kutila bhave atto heto rahetos chayunor mana udanchati. Ujjala Nilmani, 15:102. The movements of prema are naturally crooked like a snake. Therefore, young lovers experience man, that is, they become sulky, sometimes with cause and sometimes without cause. And now there are many verses here in Bengali for the purport. I'm just going to read the meaning. Shri Radha became jealous, and with good reason. Thus she left the site of the Rasa Leela. Shri Hari experienced extreme distress at not seeing her. Rasa Leela is the condensation of all Shri Krishna's yearnings, and thus certainly it is his most prominent desire. Shri Radha is surely the vital link of the chain of his desire to perform Rasa Lila. Without her presence, Shri Krishna did not feel happy within his heart. And therefore, he left the Rasa Lila to search for her. He looked everywhere, but when he could not find her, being pierced by the arrows of her amorous desire, he became hopeless and wept. Here, the purpose of Radha's anger is not to fulfill her own desires, because she does not have even the slightest desire for her own happiness. This is a very important point. She's not leaving because she wants Krishna only for her. It looks like prema is crooked by nature. Thus, contrariety automatically arises, which enhances the taste of prema. Because all of Shri Krishna's desires are present within his Rasa Lila, it was his primary desire to perform this Lila. And in fulfilling his desires, Shri Radha is the crucial link. Actually, Shri Radha herself is the reason that Krishna desires to enact Rasa Lila, and thus she is the supreme abode of this pastime. This is why, despite the presence of millions of other gopis, right in front of them, Shri Krishna also left that place. It is obvious that Shri Krishna did not take away Radha by stealth. The statement here is very clear. Owing to man, she left Rasa Lila on her own. Shri Krishna was wounded by Kama, but this does not mean material lust. Rather, it is the mutual eagerness between lovers to give one another happiness. Shri Radha's tendency to perform amorous service is of the highest standard. Furthermore, as long as Shri Krishna has not fulfilled her desire, he feels pain in his heart. Chattakoti gopite nahe kama nirvapan tahate anumani Shri Radhika ragun. Even millions of gopis were not able to extinguish the kama of Shri Krishna. From this alone, we can infer that greatness of Shri Radha's qualities. Without her, Shri Krishna's desire to taste Kanta Prema would not be met. Prabhu kohe je lagi ailama tomasthane sei sava tattva vastu hoilo mora gyane. After hearing the deep explanation of Prema Tattva from Shri Ramananda, Mahaprabhu became very satisfied, and with a choked voice he explained, Rai, I have come to see you to receive knowledge of all these tattvas. My coming to you has proven successful. Ebe sajanilum sadhya sadhana nirnoy age ar ache kichu shunite monohoy. I have understood the tattva of both the sadhya, the goal, and the sadhana, the means to achieve. But please speak further, for my mind desires to hear more. Even after hearing such a deep deliberation on sadhya sadhana tattva from the lotus mouth of Shri Ramananda, Sriman Mahaprabhu's curiosity was still not pacified. It seemed that he wanted to know more about the special glories of Shri Radha's nature. Therefore, he cleverly yet indirectly asked, Krishnera Swarupa Kaha Radhara Swarupa Rasa Kontatva Prema Kontatva Rupa Kripa Koriye Tattva Kahata Amare Toma Vina Keha Iha Nirupitenare. O Ramananda, what is the nature of Shri Radha and of Shri Krishna? What is Rasa Tattva? In addition, what is the intrinsic nature of Prema Tattva? Please be merciful and explain all of these truths to me. Except for you, there is no one else who can explain these things. Rai kahe hami kichui jani, kichui na jani, tumi jai kahao se kahi ami vani. Tomara shikshaya pari jena sukapat, sakshat ishwara tumi ke bujin tomar nat. Hridaya prirana kara jivaya kahao vani. Ki kahiye bhalo manda ki chui na jani. Hearing Sriman Mahaprabhu's question, Sri Ramananda Rai said, I do not know anything about this subject. I utter only those instructions you speak through me. Whatever the teachings I receive from you, I recite just like a parrot. You are directly the supreme controller. Who can understand your drama? My tongue will vibrate those very same instructions. You have inspired within my heart as the super soul. Whether I am speaking correctly or incorrectly, I do not know. This is one of the most beautiful parts of this book, is when Ramananda says that actually Mahaprabhu is speaking through him. And Mahaprabhu is only speaking what himself wants to hear. It means that Mahaprabhu is the all-knowing. But if he would become just like omniscient, entity, and he will not be full of rasa also, full of pastimes. So to make others speak and interact with him, this is a part of a very, rasic process. Otherwise, those who are like Brahma, or those who are like Paramatma, not speaking anything, they already know, and they already become completely satisfied within themselves. Then they cannot perform anything. But Mahaprabhu is manifesting all these situations and all these things because himself, he wants to enjoy pastimes. But not only that, we know that the knowledge that Krishna has is one thing. But when that same knowledge passes through the mouth of the pure devotee, it becomes even sweeter. So Krishna is tasting not information. Krishna is tasting the love which is coming, that information filled with love, which comes through his devotees. That's why in the assembly of Shukadeva Goswami Pad, when he was speaking Bhagavatam, who was sitting there? A part of millions of yogis, karmis, tapasvis, jnanis, bhaktas. We had Narada Muni, we had Vyasadeva himself, who were like gurus for Shukadeva Goswami. But still they want to relish that, because the more the parrot picks the fruit, the sweeter it becomes. So in the same way, Mahaprabhu, he wants to relish that knowledge from Ramananda. So, and that how it should be. But if you tell this, if you narrate this situation to someone who is like a jnani, anything like that, he may say, oh, what is the need of all these things? If he already know why he has to hear again repeated from someone, it's like, just a waste of time. No, it has a lot of relishment in that. Now let's see what Mahaprabhu is going to reply. Prabhu kohe mayavadi ami tasanyasi bhakti tattva nahi jani mayavade bhashi. Hearing Ramananda Rai's humble words, Mahaprabhu said, I am a mayavadi sannyasi. How can I understand bhakti tattva? I always remain entangled in mayavada philosophy. So this is what I just told about. Mayavadis, they will always not understand all the specialities of bhakti. And Mahaprabhu himself, he's saying that, oh, I'm just a Mayavadi, how can I understand bhakti? Of course he's not, but he's behaving as if he was. So, and by denying again that he's unable to understand, that creates even another level of enjoyment, of ras. So suppose Mahaprabhu, he would say, yes, it's true, I'm speaking through you, then everything is gone. So he has to deny that to the very end. He can never say that openly. So this is like Rasakatha is going on. Like Brajabasi language. Brajabasis, they never speak completely what? Straight. They never speak straight. Anyway. Can you hear me there? Looks like it's a little frozen. Haribol. Yes, huh? Can hear. Okay. I cannot see anyone now. It's little all frozen, but I'll keep speaking. If any problem, let me know. Open your microphone and tell me, huh? So we should understand that these words spoken by Sriman Mahaprabhu in full humility were actually meant to conceal his real identity. Sarvabhauma sange mor mana nirmala hoilo, Krishna bhakti tattva kaho tahara puchilo. Teho kahe ami nahi jani Krishna kata, Sobe Ramananda jane teho nahi eta. Stay with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. My mind has been purified. I inquire from him about the fundamental truth of Krishna bhakti. However, he said to me, I do not know topics of Krishna. Sri Rai Ramananda knows everything, but he is not here now. Tomara tani ailana, tomara mahima shunya, tumi more stuti karo sannyasi janiya. O Ramananda Rai, hearing of your glories, I have come to you. But understanding me to be a sannyasi, you began to praise me. Kivavi pakhi banasi shudra kenenoi, Jai Krishna tattvaveta sei guru hai. Whether or not one is a Brahmana, a sannyasi, or a Shudra, if one knows Krishna Tattva, he in reality is Guru. So by this statement, Mahaprabhu's intention is that Ramananda Rai should not entertain the idea that because Mahaprabhu has accepted birth in a Brahman family and is also a sannyasi, he cannot take religious instructions from a Shudra. For anyone following Varnashram Dharma who desires to receive religious instruction and initiation, a guru from the Brahmana caste is indispensable. Yet, because knowledge of Krishna Tattva is a supreme goal of all jivas, the scriptural conclusion is that anyone who knows Bhakti Tattva is actually a spiritual master. It is said from Undaka Upanishad, Tad Vigyanartam Sadgurum Evavigachit, Samit Pani Kshatriyam Brahmanishtam. In order to obtain knowledge of the supreme truth, one must approach a bona fide guru who knows the Vedas and is fixed in the absolute truth, taking ingredients for sacrifice in hand. Now the verse from Haribhakti Vilas says, Varnotame tacha guru satya vishrute picha swadeshattota vanyatra nedam karyam subhartrina. If a famous Brahmana spiritual master is present in one's own district, a person who desires auspiciousness will not travel elsewhere to accept initiation from someone other than him. Anyway, so now it's going to start another discussion here about the caste system and all these things, eligibility for bhakti. So we are going to stop here and continue next time. Hare Krishna.